right, everybody, welcome to Haven today. It's really great to be here with you all, and Betsy with us live on the panel, along with Ange, and of course Brooke joins us again. How's everyone been this week?
Yeah, excellent. Really good.
Excellent. Great week.
Good to hear.
What about you, Tom?
Not a bad week either. Well, I did have a new addition to the family.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. Pretty tired.
Yeah, very
Please forgive
tired.
me.
Can't top a new baby.
No, you win.
Well, it's
Yeah.
always exciting.
Bit weary, are you?
Oh yes. You know, unbroken sleep.
Yeah.
We'll get through. So today we're talking about the topic of pushing our limits, and hopefully no one's going to push my limits today, but it's an exciting thing. Not giving up, continuing on with what matters in our lives when we face discouragement. So, has there been any stories you can think of in your lives where you've had those limits pushed and I don't know, you've got through that?
Yeah, I think having children, as you will know, your limits are certainly pushed you into a phase of not knowing really what you're doing, and you're learning as you go. I think one of my big ones is the workforce. I was in the Air Force, and I was certainly pushed to my limits a number of times, just with expectations and things that were required. So yeah.
It's hard. I remember when we lost my mother-in-law. That was a really hard season. Amazing woman, one of the best people I knew, of course, and but not only having to go through that myself, but get my kids through it and my husband through it. That was a rough season. That pushed me to my limits. So yeah, hard, really hard.
Yeah.
Again, work is often a source of this, isn't it? And for me, studying and actually doing a placement at one point was a really challenging time for me. That's in the last few years even. And I remember just driving along the road going, I just have to get through this placement. And, God, I believe that you've asked me to do this, so I'm just going to keep showing up. And it was the hardest thing. And I really was so struggling with it, but I just knew that if I stopped, I would regret it. And I think that's one of the things, isn't it? You kind of,
That's a great example for what we're talking about, particularly today, where we've got a goal, we've got something we believe we should be working towards, a way we should be living even, but then when things get tough, not giving up on that.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at a verse, Galatians 6 verse 9. Show it up down the bottom of the screen, but to give us some hints and encouragement with how to keep going. And it says, let's not grow tired of doing good, because if at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we don't give up. So what's this verse saying to us, Betsy?
Oh, it says so many things, doesn't it? I guess it says, that there's some good stuff coming. There's rewards coming and all like that. I mean, do you want to know everything I think it says, or just that? Just that? What do you want, Tom?
Good things coming. I like
Good
that.
things coming. All right, we'll go with that. There's good things coming.
So please send in your questions live or with the number on the screen about this, what we're talking about. But Betsy, those good things, can you give us a few examples of what you think the good things are this verse is talking about?
Yeah, I think it's really an interesting verse, to be honest, because the person who, obviously that verse comes from God, but the person who wrote it was actually talking to a bunch of Christians who really had to learn about how to live every day with Jesus, because they were used to doing rules and regulations, and there were physical laws that they had to do that made them be different. And so what I love about this verse is that it's actually all about a new way of life, and pretty much I think it's just we're doing this every single day, and essentially whichever hat we're wearing, we are living in God's ways. And so You know what? I just lost your question, Tom.
Well, I think if I can jump in, I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that so much of what we do, some of the writers say, you know, so much of what we do is actually habit. And so you're saying that they were actually living in these habits and these structures, and all of a sudden there was this new coming in, and then actually being able to like put those new things into practice took time and effort for that to become their nature, didn't it? Like, and I think that's the beautiful thing about when we do come to Christ, is that all of a sudden he starts replacing our natural tendency and then putting himself into our mix, and then all of a sudden we're finding ourselves responding with some of those different ways.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
And a battle sometimes
Yeah.
that we might not expect.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's also a choice. We have a choice in the way that we speak, in our attitude, the way that we treat others. So those good things are something that we can either follow God's way and do them the way that He's called us to, or we won't, and we will reap out of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets hard. It gets so hard because, you know, although God helps us to do those things, it's not natural. And so doing good things and doing good it just wears you out. Like, you just don't want to do it all the time. I mean, maybe you guys are more perfect than me, but I don't want to do it all the time. So I just love it because, yeah, it just inspires me that, hey, it's worth it. Hey, you know, this is the way to live. It's not all about, you know, all that stuff. This will bring you life. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about it, is it's going to be hard, but it brings you so much.
Yeah.
So,
Things like loving those people that aren't super easy to love. and
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being generous.
Yep.
Being patient.
Yep.
I think it's always interesting, you know, when you go to a shopping centre and you see, you know, some clerks kind of, or shop assistants working, and you kind of, sometimes you can see that they're having a hard day, but you also can see that their hard day is a little bit exacerbated by the way that they're actually interacting with people. And it's kind of like sometimes you just kind of want to come alongside and encourage them just to kind of help them get out of that funk a little bit, because you can see that actually it does spiral. It's not, but when we actually can just say, okay, no, I'm going to do the thing here that might turn it around. I'm going to say that nice word that, you know, what is it? A harsh word, it stirs up anger, you know, like if we actually go in gently sometimes, which is not our natural way, then yeah, we can change that outcome in a conversation just by the way we choose to enter it, can't we?
Good example in many ways, that person behind the checkout, their job is to be friendly with people,
Yeah.
and that they could do it the first time, the second time, at the end of a long shift.
Yeah.
There's things that are going on in the background. It can get hard. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
what are
And you
some of
don't-
those things?
I like that some of them too now have like the I'm a mum and I'm a, you know, and it does remind you that there is life going on even beside what they're doing at that checkout right now. Or, you know, sorry, keep going.
Good point as well about encouraging, because getting a community around you is probably one of the keys. We'll get to that later. But what are some of the things that can cause us to get tired of doing the things that we need to do, the things we know we should be doing? What makes us get tired?
Well, I can give you a million reasons, but I don't want to hog the floor here.
Go for it, Betsy.
Look, I get tired, like I said, just because it's hard. It's hard. It's not natural. But, you know, I get impatient. It's like, I'm doing good. Look, I'm doing good. But it's like, oh, when is it going to happen? Hello? Can anybody see me doing good? You know? So that wears you out, you know, impatience. That's something I struggle with a little bit.
Lack of
you know,
response and
yes.
recognition. And,
Yeah, well, not so much that, but I struggle with trusting the bigger picture. I'm like, you know, okay, I'm ready for this now. I think enough good has happened now, so I'm ready for it now. So I kind of like, I have to sometimes slow down and go, okay, it's not the right time yet. But it does make me weary. Like, I just get worn out waiting.
Do you ever find then in that moment where you go, oh, I think I'm doing the good thing, but maybe I'm not? Am I not doing the, like, do you ever
that's a
second guess
great point.
yourself?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that sometimes happens to me. It's like, I think I'm doing the right thing here, but hang on a second, have I got it all wrong? And then I panic.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like,
100%.
no, God, I need my peace back. Tell me I'm
Yeah.
doing the right thing
Did that
again.
flash to your mind with the teaching placement?
Yeah, like,
Am I doing the right thing?
yeah, yeah. I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I'm right.
You know, just to go again, and just, we've actually been going through a thing at the moment of, you know, changing our child with school. And that's a really big decision when your kid's thriving and, you know, doing a great job. But, you know, there's reasons that we're like, oh, what do we do here? And so we made the decision, and I've been doing exactly what Brooke said, because, you know, my anxiety watching her anxiety is like, oh no, it can't be good, it can't be good. And then it comes back into God going, okay, you made the right choice. You made a choice. I'm with you. Just see it out. Let's just see it out. And so, yeah, exactly that. Flip back between this is good, this is great, to this is terrible, this is horrible. And yeah, I completely agree that it makes you flip between the two while you're waiting sometimes. So, but we're believing for good things.
Yeah.
So that time of waiting, that verse talks about a proper time. Why do you
Does.
think that proper time often seems to take so long?
Oh, I think that the situations that we take are a process, and for growth to happen, it's not going to be instant. It will take you going through and trusting. And I kind of see it like a diamond or a precious jewel. You know, a diamond doesn't just form; it takes thousands of years of that pressure and that molding and that shaping. And I think that's what God's doing with us. He takes us through situations, not because he's vindictive or he wants us to be in pain, but he knows what it's going to take to get us through whatever it is that we're going through.
Absolutely.
And in that time, you get to see just how much he loves you and cares for you, and he's very present. So you're not alone. And if you don't go through those times, you're not going to experience that. So do I want the rough times? No, but I love that he's with you. He's for you, and he never leaves you.
Yeah,
For sure.
nice reminder that today I saw someone going through a tough time and just saw them shining. You could see they'd gone through a tough period, but it had brought somehow, because they were trusting God and the best out of them.
That's good.
Yeah.
For sure.
Any other thoughts on that? Why does it seem to take so long?
Look, I just say again, because we're impatient. Our way, we want it our way. But, you know, it's not always the way. So everything feels longer. Minutes feel like hours when you're waiting. You're just waiting. And so it may not actually be taking quite as long as you feel like it is, but because it's not the way you want it, it feels a whole lot longer. So
Yeah, and there's always the uncertainty. You don't know the outcome.
that's right.
You're hoping for
It's the
something,
unknown.
Yeah.
That's it.
but in that time of waiting, there's the doubts creep in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
they do.
think, like, if I take it back to like a natural example of, you know, we look outside and we see plants and we see trees and we see things, and you know, we have no real idea of how that happens. Well, me anyway, non-scientific. And yet it happens because God's creative power is infused in that. And it's like, yeah, that whole thing of the waiting is so incredibly hard, but the thing that becomes evident out of that, whether it be diamond, whether it be beautiful tree, whether it be a vine that's full of fruit, that, you know, the vine itself can't see its fruit, you know, but, you know, we kind of travel along and we just trust and believe that, you know, it will become evident, not just from the inside, but then also from the outside. Because if we're actually in a situation where, you know what, you shouldn't have gotten to that good place because all of that was against you, and yet you kept doing what God said to do in his word. Like you were following along his thoughts, his ways, putting your feet where he wanted them to go, and then all of a sudden he's changed the way it would go. And so now, instead of a shriveled up kind of ball, you are actually thriving and flourishing, and you know, he is the testament of that. Like, I think I'd much rather a life knowing that, yep, I did my little bit, but he did so much more.
All right, we're going to come to the question soon of what are some examples where you've seen the not giving up become worth it. We've seen that outcome. But Chris, any questions coming in on the chat?
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage. Feel free to send them in. Also, if you're watching this later, we'll respond to those comments
We
you
will.
put down below. But Betsy, any thoughts on examples where you've seen things have been worth it?
Do you know, I realise not everybody can connect to this one because this is a parenting one, but you know, one of the hardest things I've worn a lot of hats in my life, but one of the hardest things that I've ever done is parenting. It is so hard, and we've now got a son in university, and so all through, you know, we've been through a lot of seasons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if there's one thing my husband and I have always tried to do is just, okay, what does God want from us as parents? And that has taken so much sacrifice. It's taken, you know, a lot of repentance, you know, because we haven't always been the nicest parents, or we haven't been the wisest parents and things like that. But, you know, we've just had to push it out. And I know that a first year of uni, you know, there's still a ways to go for our son, but he's great. He's a good kid. And so I feel like the years of hard work have just gotten us to a point where, and what I mean by a good kid is, you know, how do you word it? I'm
He's a
so
good kid.
well, yeah, you know, but I think sometimes the world can have a picture of good that is very different to what is a picture of good, and I think that's where I'm a bit stuck. He's a good kid because, you know, he loves his friends, and he would do anything for his friends. He loves his grandparents. Just this morning, his grandfather was saying, oh, you know, my friend's moving house on Tuesday. And I could see the look on Josiah's face because he has an exam on Tuesday and he couldn't help with the move.
Really?
So what I'm trying to say is, you know, he's not a good kid because he goes to uni. I don't care about the fact that he goes to uni. I care about the fact that he wanted to help his grandfather move house for his friend. And that's what I'm trying to say. And that's the stuff that I feel like we're starting to see. The hard work, him seeing us move house because we know it helped people move house, has set up a good example, and he now is making choices that I feel like make him a good person.
That's great.
Does that
So
make
17,
sense?
18 years and,
Yeah.
and it works.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got time to make his own choices and whatever, but yeah, the gist of it is that you know, he's making good choices, and
Yeah.
that gives me hope that the hard work was worth it.
Good example. Either of you?
I have a bit of a funny story. Do you want me to share the funny story that
Funny
I
is good.
yeah. So I was visiting with my mother-in-law while she was still with us, and my husband was there, and we were just chatting away in the kitchen and lounge, and anyway, and all of a sudden we hear this bang, and then, sorry for everyone listening, and then we hear the sirens straight after, like, and we're like, what on earth has just happened? Like, that's, oh, okay, like, strange that the police are right there. Anyway, kind of went, all right, we'll just leave that for the moment. Wonder what that was. Anyway, so then we went home soon after, and my mother-in-law then told my husband what had happened. The poor fellow next door had been so close to finishing his car, getting it ready for roadworthy, and had decided to sneak out, taking the car that was not roadworthy yet to the shop to get the thing that he needed so that he could get it finished so that he could take it the next day to get roadworthy. He thought he would go out and not see any police. He saw a police car and panicked.
It's always the way.
And so in his panic, he thought, oh, I'll sneak in the driveway and then I'll turn behind the house and then they won't see where the car's gone and then I'll be off. I'll be scot-free.
All good.
Unfortunately, he drove into the driveway a little quickly and hit the grass and couldn't turn. And so he actually just smashed into something in the backyard.
Oh no!
So he was so close, but then ended up with the fine and needing to fix the car and just like, it's that whole thing of don't give up, be patient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do the good thing. And in that case, it was pretty easy to know what the good thing was because the law was helping him to know what the good thing was there. But yeah,
The panic decision rarely turns out
Yeah.
You hope it will.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Take your
think,
time.
so that was my
All right.
funny little.
Now we come to the keys.
Keys.
So your collective wisdom and online as well. Please send in your thoughts. The keys of not giving up when things get tough. Maybe one or two each. Betsy,
Starting with me.
of course.
Well, I think I've already mentioned it once with the bigger picture. You know, recognizing that what's right in front of you now isn't the reality. You know, like for example, with our kids, you know, if all the way back here, all we could focus on was the fact that we were having late nights, sleepless nights. Sorry, Tom, it's all ahead again. But if that's all we could focus on, we may have lost track. But, you know, we needed to see that, hey, we're trying to do 18 years in advance here. Not in advance. We're trying to work for 18 years ahead here. And so just seeing that it's all part of a bigger picture. You know, okay, this one step, this next step, they all add up.
Big picture.
So, yeah,
Great thought.
I'd say that's, so we'll do one and then move around.
Yeah,
again,
definitely.
Yeah.
And
I just don't want to steal somebody's.
I guess it's a spiritual answer. One of the keys in my life has been remembering God's promises, remembering the truth of His word. But to do that, you have to read the word. You have to know the word for it to actually be relevant in your life and to actually come up when you need it. But I think also there's something we have to remember is there are people that have gone before us. So having wise counsel, having people in our lives that can just encourage us, can just get alongside us, they get you through these things because
yeah.
they support you, they uphold you, and whether they're Christians or not, it doesn't matter. I think it's important to have people in your life that you can turn to.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's great. Community. Don't make a big decision in your life
Definitely not.
on your own.
Yep.
Check with a few people first.
Especially with the big decisions.
That's good.
Yeah. Or I guess, you know, out of that, I would say, you know, we can tend to catastrophize if we don't quite make it in a moment. And you mentioned the term repentance before, Betsy, where you were kind of like saying, oh, you know, sometimes we don't get it right as parents or in our workplace or something like that. And we kind of then have to do that, backtrack a little bit and go, oh, okay, what is the good thing? And we line ourselves up again. What is that good thing, God? What is, and that's really what repentance is just saying, hang on a second. No, I went off of God's designed path there and I need to get back onto it. So Lord, help me get back on. And that's really all that is. And so then we travel with that, with this amazing promise that, hey, even if you don't quite get it right every time, I am still with you. I am still for you. When you surrender it back to me, that mistake, that whatever, I can then walk with you through whatever comes of that. That's Him turning things to good for those that love Him and serve Him. You know, when we actually say, no, God, I keep getting it wrong, but you are able to help me put that, you know, that good work into practice. Even if I stuffed it up this time.
Yeah, that's good. Those failures aren't the end.
No.
And have those things in place where you get the chance to come back on track.
Yeah. And I think too, Ange, I think one of the reasons why I thought of that was because people around us help us to see, hey, you remember, like, you know, maybe I never told you about this, but I did this once and I felt like it was the end of the world. You know, like people around us, they can, you know, they can share those moments with us and help us then see, oh, no, I'm not alone.
Yeah, that's great. Any thoughts in the chat, Chris?
No, chat's a little quiet today.
No worries. Send them in later. We'd love to hear your thoughts, but I think you've summarised some pretty practical steps. If we could just do those three, I think we'd be a long way ahead. But thank you for watching this. We've got someone sent in a great photo this week, the photo of a double rainbow. It's pretty amazing during the storms, and then afterwards this full double rainbow. Amazing. Thanks for sending that in. And if you've got any moments in your week coming up where you've just gone wow, please send them in. That's an amazing, and it said the guy that sent it in, Luke, reminded him of God's promises. So great. Thank you for sending that in. But we're going to try something this week that we haven't really done before is have a Zoom call after this. So if you're interested in chatting with us and anyone else that's going to stick around for a short time, jump onto that link on our website, the front page. You can join us and have a bit of a conversation. But otherwise, you can join us through the week in our Facebook group and Thursday nights. Love to see you there. It's a great Zoom call together. But thank you very much for coming on.
Our pleasure. Well, my pleasure. I don't know if it's a pleasure for these guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, keep pushing on, everyone. Don't give up. And if you need someone to get behind you and give you some encouragement, I encourage you to do that. Connect with us.
Yeah.
Very good. See you later.
Bye.